listen. Came to America, real youngster, learned from the OGs, true gangsters. Mistakes I made never gave real answers. Then the problems came along, disaster. Had strap for what came after. Saw my brothers ghosts like Casper plowing.
What's up? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm actually out looking at a couple potential flips, one in particular that I'm going to show you guys what I'm looking at. And so I'm going to show you guys kind of how to assess a property for a potential flip and, you know, kind of go through the process on site. So one thing to think about this actual project is that it's potentially a scrape, meaning it's a complete teardown and then a new construction project. For typical flippers, that's probably, for most of them at least, over their head or something they don't want to get into for many reasons. I actually, as you guys know, am a general contractor and home builder, so that doesn't scare me away. But the reasons for running into potential existing properties as flips as opposed to just finding lots and building is, one, it's harder to find just vacant lots if you're going to do spec homes or new construction, ground up stuff. And two, the process is longer to get a new construction project going than it is to buy an existing property, renovate it, and put it back on the market. So there's obviously a simpler process with the existing properties. But in this market right now out here in Colorado, everything is just absolutely off the chain. It's so hard to find anything right now, and if you find it, you're going to pay too much for it most of the time. So you need to be careful about all of that. And one of the ones I wanted to look at this morning already had 25 offers on it. So that obviously is, I'm not going to waste my time with that. They're going to make a decision. Someone's going to overpay for it. And I always keep my eye on those projects, but I'm certainly not going to mess with something like that. This one, I think because of the situation we're in with potential scrape, a lot of investors are going to stay away from it because, like I said, one, timeline is a lot longer, and two, for everybody else that's trying to renovate it, there's potential problems, hence why I'm looking at this maybe as a scrape. There are potential mold issues, potential structural issues, a lot of things kind of going on there. And so you get to a point where you put too much money into an existing property to get it back to livable condition and to be able to sell it, you might end up spending more than you would actually tearing it down and building a new home. So that's kind of this, like, point of diminishing returns, as we say in economics, and that's the thing you have to pay attention to the most. So short version of this project, like I said, potential scrape. The lot is big. It's bigger than most of the lots around here, so you've got room to do stuff with it. I'm going to be looking at ways to not have to scrape this property and see if we can't fix the issues that they're calling out and see if they're real issues, secondly, and then go from there. So we're looking at, I think this is listed at $324. New homes in the area, if we were to build brand new, we're looking at like a $600,000 to $800,000 house. If we were to renovate it, it's going to be less than that, but it really comes down to what does that renovation look like in terms of bed, bath, square foot, the whole thing. And so when I get in here and look at it, I'm going to be looking at it as existing for flip. And then, stage two would be, if we scrape it, is it worth the number on build cost? So let's start walking the property. I'll show you guys what I look at and see who we got. This is going to be enter at your own risk type scenario. So yeah, we'll see what we get into. Okay, so first thing I do, like I've been talking about on the other videos too, is we're gonna look outside in, top down. So I'm looking at the exterior, the lot itself, especially if we're considering doing this as a scrape, and I'm gonna look from the roof down. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna need a new roof, so I don't even need to like inspect it. Everything in here is gonna have to go if we were to keep the existing property. So really what I'm doing now is trying to assess potential property lines, how much room we have to build, so that way when I go back and do my research on the computer, I know exactly the scenario for building setbacks is going to be for a building envelope if we were to scrape this thing. And that way I can kind of configure, potentials and if it's going to work at all. So I'm looking at exterior. So that's a really old standing seam wood siding. I mean, that's gonna have to all get torn off. I'm seeing water damage on it already. and all the way around, it's probably gonna all have to go. This awning, ugly as sin, to be honest with you, and it's no good. So it's a big lot. Like I said, we're looking at what can we do first off without having to tear it down, and fingers crossed I can find a scenario that works in that sense. So we got a little tiny garage in here, detached. Looks like it was thrown up sometime in the last 10 years, and really more just for storage. You're not going to get a real car in here. So again, it's probably just behooves us just to tear it down and see how we can do an existing, or sorry, an attached new garage on the property. Probably not going to happen, but anyway, we're going to, you know, I'm trying to look at every scenario. You can want to always keep your mind open when you look at these properties, especially the ones that are in really rough shape, and try and understand what needs to be done, what versus what you really want to be done, and what's going to get it sold, especially considering safety and health aspects of it, which you do definitely need to do. So electrical panels, I've got overhead service. I'm gonna look at this real quick. Right now, I can tell you that's gonna have to be replaced regardless. I've got nothing in here, and then I've got obviously open service for no, there's breaker's been removed. So anyway, there's, like I said, on these you don't have to look real hard, because you know a lot of this is just gonna go. You don't even need to spend time inspecting it too much. Show you guys the front of the property real quick. There's a lot of trees that'll probably have to come out if we do scrape. So there's the drive coming in, and that actually wraps around. You could actually, I think, get a turnaround driveway in here. Now egress would be an issue, and I'm trying to figure out where the property line is, but as it appears, this is all property line on this side running out, and then I can come take this driveway and make a nice U out of it all the way around. So that's kind of cool, and leaves me options for a new attached garage or even new detached garage, depending on where I put it. And again, you can see it runs all the way out on this side as well. So that's about all I need outside. I'm just kind of getting my bearings on the lot itself. We're gonna jump inside and just kind of peek in on how bad this really is. So hold your breath. Kind of shimmied up, so I couldn't get in, and I had to come around to the back door. These lovely French doors here. Here's our kitchen. You can see the situation is really pretty much self-explanatory. Everything's gonna go if we were even attempt to try and keep this. Woo-wee. Smells lovely in here too. So supposedly there's structural issues that were written in the comments of the MLS. I'm gonna try and take a peek down in that treacherous basement here in a minute and see what that's really about. So, yeah, there's your subfloor. It supposedly was a rental for a while. Yeah, I'm not sure at what point the tenant removed themselves or they were removed. But I don't know how you rent this. It's a little scary. So this is the front of the house. I'm not really sure how this door is. It's pretty jammed now. So what I'm looking at now is I'm gonna look for the structural stuff, because that's gonna be the key component for me to decide whether or not it needs to be torn down. A lot of this is really just interior remodel, simple construction for the most part. If we were to keep everything as far as the house goes and just gut it and remodel it. So my key component for deciding if this is gonna be a tear down or not is gonna be a structural scenario. So I need to look at all signs of shifting, movement, and things that cannot be repaired at a value that makes sense to keep the house. So I'm gonna start looking around, and I'm seeing things as I'm talking on the camera about stuff that needs to be really addressed. And I'm gonna start looking at why it's happening as far as movement, and then go from there, because that's gonna determine a cost for me to repair versus tear down. And I can tell you now, as I'm looking just on my experience, that we're like 50-50 at this point on keeping it. But some things to look at for you guys that don't even have to have building experience or a general contractor's license or being a structural engineer or anything. If you see cracking at corners where door jambs and windows are that run into the corners, okay? See how this is being pulled away from the window? And you're cracking down here. And then you can see where there's a gap from subfloor to trim. You can see that's a pretty hefty gap. Just standing here, you can feel how the house has moved down this way, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's you know, the house is destroyed and it's over. A lot of that can come from many issues that are less scary than they look, but you have to understand what you're looking at. Now, if you don't have, you know, if you're not my background and you're looking to flip and you've walked into a house like this, the first thing you should not do is go, oh my God, I gotta get the hell out of here. This is not gonna work. What you need to do is have your contacts available. And one of the people you should call at this point when you start seeing this heavy cracking and this settling and movement is your structural engineer. Get an engineer out here to do an on-site assessment of what is actually happening with the home. And for a few $100s, they can write a letter and to make a determination of what repairs would be needed to fix this versus walking away from it or versus tearing it down. This can save you a lot of money. So a few $100s spent now can save you a lot of time and money and keeping you from missing a potential awesome investment that everyone else would be scared away from, okay? So it is buyer beware situation at this point, but at the same time, you don't want to run away from these types of investments just because everyone else is going to. So like I said, you want to be looking for this type of cracking. And this is a sign of structural issues from minor to severe. You just want to know what the heck is going on and how do I fix it? And then the rest of this is going to be cosmetic once the structural components are addressed, okay? So I'm going to continue to walk through here. That's a fresh turd. Maybe someone was living here in the last few weeks. Okay, I'm a little over 6 feet tall, and every single time I walk through a door, I almost have to duck my head, even with my hat on. That's not good. So door jambs are usually about 6'8" finished. I'm certainly nowhere near 6'8", even though I wish I was. So you've got issues here where if you were to make this door the actual height that it should be, and again, you can see where this is pulling away and there's movement in the home. And that's from top down as well as from foundation. In order to resurrect this and fix this door, even if we repair the structural, I got to be able to get in here to free frame a normal door. So this is probably like 6'4", 6'5". I mean, it's 3 to 4 inches short of a regular door, which is something that has to be addressed and fixed. This is, should we call this the main bedroom and bathroom? There's your ensuite. Here's the bedroom itself. Yeah, I'm getting closer and closer to saying there's no way you can do anything with this. I mean, if you were trying to do something with this is where I'm thinking. It's gonna have to be a first-time buyer type home. Duck through here. Where it's gonna be a smaller home. It's not gonna be competing with that $700,000 to $800,000 house as is. So you're making this for a first-time buyer, you know, a single person or just recently married couple that's trying to just get into the market. That's about the best you can do if you're trying to keep it as is. And again, you'd be gutting everything, tearing everything out of here. We've got galvanized pipe in here I've got to get rid of. That's a no-go code-wise. The one thing they oddly did was replace the furnace and water heater a couple years ago. So that stuff's new, and unfortunately, they would have to be relocated. Most likely, if we were to keep this house. I don't know. I'm gonna try and this stairwell is a little tricky, so I'm gonna walk down here and then let's see if we can get to the bottom of the structural stuff. All right, down we go. All right, so we're in the crawl space now. So this is all concrete block. This is concrete masonry units or CMU wall, and this was, some of this has been repaired. This was all part of the original foundation as far as I can tell, and there's been some alterations made to it on some level. I don't know if I can get a light on this or not, but we're gonna give it a shot. So, oddly, what I'm trying to do actually is I'm looking down in every aspect of the crawl space, and I'm looking at all the exterior, what are called stem walls, which is the walls that sit on the footing for the foundation components, okay? And I'm looking for any sort of similar cracking that happens that we saw upstairs. So as far as I can tell so far, I don't see as much down here. That makes me a little more optimistic if we were to try and keep this house and just renovate it. However, there's a lot of work in here, and wow, I'm even seeing condensation up on some of this Romex, and we've got some knob and tube wiring that looks like it's actually still part of the home that's tied in. So like this light, this is knob and tube wiring here. Oh, that's from a long time ago. So actually fairly dangerous electrically because it's the way it was done so many years ago. We're talking about hundreds of years ago. And I've done a lot of work on really old homes, and I mean, you're not allowed to tie back into it anymore, but you know, some flippers don't know what the heck they're doing, and they'll leave some alone. Even if they can't identify it, sometimes it's not their fault. But I've got, looks like a lot of it is actually, surprisingly for this home, I'm kind of surprised at the age of this home there's still being some in here. Because again, that's been from we're talking pushing 100 years at this point. I mean, it's 2020. So I'm sort of surprised I'm seeing that now, but it is actually active, and that would have to be removed. Again, that kind of stuff in this scenario doesn't make as much difference. Like, you don't need to dwell on that because you're going to rewire this entire house anyway. You're literally going to tear everything out of here down to the studs once you repair the structural that's going on. And as far as I can tell, honestly, based on the way this house was constructed, I'm seeing hydrostatic pressure as some of the main reason for this house shifting the way it is. You guys don't need to worry about what that is, but that's basically just drainage issues, to be honest with you. And, you know, again, in Colorado, we've got different kinds of moisture that come through here. In the winter, we get snow. And when water gets in and around the stem walls and the footings, it can shift and move things with temperature changes. So that's kind of what I'm assessing at this point. I'd still get my engineer in here because that's what he does. That's what he's licensed to do. He certainly has a lot more knowledge in that aspect of everything structurally than I do. But again, you know, we're looking for these kinds of signs. This is more than just drywall and plaster cracking. This is setting up basically at the base of the rafters and the cords on the rafters. This is pulling away at a load wall. This is a wall that's actually picking up the middle span of the house, and that carries all the way down to the basement where that concrete masonry unit wall was. So this is a load wall, and if a load wall has cracks in it, then you've got a lot of movement coming from roof down as well. And again, it's a one-story small little house. I think it's about 780 square feet. So that's kind of how you assess a house like this. This is more of an extreme circumstance, but at the same time, sometimes these are easier if you can make the big boy problems go away, i.e. structural. You can get back into just budgeting to tear everything out of here and start over. And so once you're repairing structural issues per your engineer, at that point, it's a full-on demo, and you can kind of configure it the way you want. That's when you try and figure out if the numbers are going to work. And if you're pushing a scenario where it's going to be more costly and timely just to tear it down and start over and build it exactly the way you want. So again, after seeing everything in here, I am still 50-50 on keeping it versus tear down. I am a little curious about this. So someone's been digging in here previous to me, and as you can see, I'm not gonna touch it, but this stuff here, guys, it's exactly what you think it is. Guesses? That's black mold. So we've got, like I saw from the outside of the house, from the exterior walk, where all that siding was definitely water damaged. It's been trapped on the back side of that siding because there's nowhere for the water to go. It sits on the wall for years and years and years, funnels through into the inside of the home, through the drywall, and then some of this is plaster, some of this is drywall, and what ends up happening is that paper is wonderful food when it's wet for mold, and it just grows and grows and grows. And even after it dries out, that mold will still be feeding on it for years. So, not good. That's, again, not the biggest deal in the world, other than you need to know how to abate it, because you can't just go in and start tearing that stuff out without properly doing licensed remediation work. So that's something to consider. You don't want to just tear it out because it's dangerous. And you can get a slap with a super heavy fine if you were to demolish those walls without proper abatement techniques in place. So keep that in mind when you see that kind of stuff. Again, you don't have to be the expert on it, but if you see it and you're curious about it, you get the right people involved to help you with this type of project. That's all I'm gonna look at. I don't need to see anything else. It's either gonna be a full gut or a tear down. I mean, that's where we're at this point, so I don't need to assess windows, I don't need to assess tile, I don't need to assess cabinets, even the mold on the walls, that's all gonna get abated. So if we were to keep it and remodel it. Yeah, so that's that. Hopefully this is helpful for you guys. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please helps us out, get this more information out to as many people as possible. Hit the like button on your way out. Leave comments, questions in the comment section below. Check out the other videos, and we're on to the next one. Maybe we'll get this one to work, maybe we won't. Later.
Yo, listen. Came to America, real youngster, learned from the OG's true gangsters. Mistakes I made never gave real answers. Then the problems came along, disaster. Had strap, but what came after? Saw my brothers ghosts like